everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the official S&R Motoring podcast. Flying solo. Actually, I'm recording this at night, where I usually record it Sunday morning. Scott's on a little vacay with the family, so I'm doing this one on my own. Normally, we ask questions, and actually we had someone on YouTube ask for really good questions, so I was kind of excited about answering those, but I didn't want to do it without Scott here, so I'm kind of gonna go off on a tangent tonight. No, it's not about any new cars. It's something a coworker and I was talking about previously, and it's about older cars. I mean, it can be domestic, it can be German, Japanese, whatever. So I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it. This is probably going to be a shorter one. You're gonna have to excuse the video quality. I ran out of time. If you're watching, ran out of time and I didn't get the camera, so I'm doing this on my old cell phone. So you'll have to excuse that. Next week's will be a lot better whenever Scott gets back. But anyway, so we were talking, and we were talking about Resto Mods. And Resto Mods are where you take, say, an older car and you update everything to newer standards. And it's kind of a weird sort of concept to me. I guess it's not weird, it's just, I don't know, to me, the charm of the older Japanese car, well, any older car, is, the stuff it doesn't have. So, for example, I had a 2018 Honda Civic, and it wasn't, the top of the line loaded to the gills with tech, but it had a lot of tech. And what I noticed is the car almost seems soulless. I don't know if it was all the electronics, it's probably just me and in my head, but it didn't have the same quirks that my Super, for example, had, or even my WRX. And I think it's because of all of the electronics kind of, I don't want to say hide or mask, but you lose that mechanical feeling that an old, not an electric power, steering. It's like a mechanical power steering pump. It feels kind of lifeless. There's not that feedback. And also with just something like a throttle cable, drive-by almost all, well, every car now is drive-by-wire. And it's not something you can tell as much as the steering, but there's almost like a disconnection between you and the motor. There's a little ECU in between it, which, EFI is that middleman, and I'm a big EFI guy, not big into carburetors. But back to what we were talking about, when you decide I'm going to build a Resto Mod, this is what I'm going to do you just want it updated? I mean, at that point, if you're just going to change everything over to all the new and updated stuff, wouldn't it almost be better just to buy a newer car, like a newer sports car, like a Supra, for example? If you wanted to, go through and update every single thing, I'm not talking about just certain aspects of it. But if you want to go through the car completely from the ground up and update everything, wouldn't it be better just to buy a new one? I mean, considering the time and money that goes into it, I understand if you like that certain style of that certain era, but doesn't it sort of take away from the point of it? Like the older cars, I think that's what I really like about them is the charm of, you know, something doesn't work, actually having to put some grump behind the steering wheel to get it to turn. You know, the lack of technology almost. There was someone who posted up on, which I mean, you know, the craftsmanship and everything else of it, I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm just simply saying the concept. Someone had posted on Facebook a picture of a Tesla touchscreen in a Supra that they were going to mold into the dash. And I was just, it was such a weird thing to me because I love the charm of the old buttons, the feel, the smell, just the whole thing. Like, isn't that the beauty of owning these older cars? Is, you know, not so much what they do have, but what they don't have. You feel more connected to the car. And, you know, sometimes the stuff that doesn't work, or, oh, you have to, you know, you can't hit that button, you have to hit two buttons at once to make it work. That's kind of what gives the car its charm. So, I guess back on the Resto Mod thing is, it all, it's just a weird concept to me. Like, I get it, but isn't the point of owning these older cars wanting to feel that mechanical connection, like kind of like an automatic and a 5-speed? I mean, the automatic is far superior to a manual. I mean, automatics have come so far, and they're so much better. I mean, for everything, but still nothing beats the feel of shifting and the connection. And then another thing I see with like newer cars is, you know, they're quiet, super quiet. So you have, well, you don't have to, but they have little speakers that'll play inside the car. I think Mercedes-Benz does it with one of their EVs, and you can pick what exhaust tone. Like, isn't that part of it? I mean, the sound, the feel, the smell, the whole thing, it's sort of like a package. And when you start going through and, you know, scrubbing it to make everything electric, it kind of, I don't know, it takes away from it. I feel like it's not the same thing. You're stripping away what makes, you know, the older cars so beautiful. You like almost appreciate the newer cars more because of what the older cars don't have. The Supra I had, or sorry, not Supra, but the Civic I had, the 2020 Civic, and even like my wife's car, all the tech is amazing that they you know, shove into these cars, and how much of it is standard. And I think, which I haven't, you know, it's been a while since I've driven this Supra, but I prefer older cars, so I've had my share of them. Like, you drive the older one, and it makes you miss not having all those electronics, you know, that disconnection that kind of electronics have. So I know these podcasts, we've started filming them and putting them up on YouTube. We don't get really, I mean, we've only been doing, I think this is the third one that we've actually put up. We don't get a lot of feedback, not a lot of people comment, except for the questions. Thanks a lot for those questions. Those are some great questions. I really am looking forward to next week to answering those. I think those will be fun. I'm kind of interested to see what Scott will say on them too. kind of have an idea, but still, he could surprise me. I'd like to hear your feedback on Resto Mods. I mean, what do you think? Like, am I just being crazy here, or does the older lack thereof features are not as good features really what make these cars so much fun to drive? I mean, maybe, I'm sure that Civic would run circles around my Supra, in a road course. But at the same time, I would hands down go to the Supra almost every single time. It's so much more fun to drive. I mean, all three of them, they put a smile on your face every single time you drive them. It's the sound, the feel, the smell. Like I said before, it's hard to explain. It's hard to, just a very connected, more satisfying feeling of having to put a little bit of effort forth, and also just because they're older, and I'm sure most of our audience are DIY guys, but I think that's part of it too. You appreciate it more whenever something breaks and you're the guy to fix it, as opposed to just taking it to a dealership for someone else to fix. I think that's one of the best feelings for me, at least, is you slave over rebuilding a motor or swapping a motor or doing whatever, even something as dumb as a tune-up, and there's a feeling of accomplishment, and I think a more connectiveness with a car that just doesn't seem, new ones just don't seem to have. I'm not saying you can't do things to new ones, but it's just, it doesn't feel the same to me. It feels, they feel lifeless. It's not the oneness that you have with them. New cars have no personality. They have no soul. Old cars do. So yeah, I would like someone else's feedback. So throw something in the comments. What do you think? I should shut up, stop talking about this, or you agree? Newer cars are lifeless. Yeah, I could kind of rant and rave on this forever, but I'm not going to. This is kind of a quick sort of, I didn't want to get anything too crazy because I wanted Scott here to weigh in with it, since it is the SNR podcast. I didn't want it to be all R. And I actually thought about doing the news, but we all know how that turns out. So, I'm going to keep this one short. I think I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said, please go to, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever, and just weigh in. What do you think about Resto Mods? Do you think it's an awesome concept? Do you plan on doing a Resto Mod, or do you like your old mechanical beast that every time it rains, the car is terrifying to drive, but you wouldn't change that. So wrap it up. Thank you for listening. Getting ready to film. Might see the Super fire up, hopefully, fingers crossed. If you need some swag, a shirt, a hat, a sticker, go on over to sandrmotoring.com. Pick up your own. If you would like to take the podcast with you, you can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Podcast Addict, any of the major podcasts. We're on there. If you can, give us a review. 5-star only, please. It helps us out so much, and the more likes we get, the more good reviews, we can expand the channel, we can make it bigger, we can do more, so we can entertain you guys. Yes, you. Doing it all for you. We love you. All right, I'm going to stop rambling. Signing off. You guys stay cool. This is R with S&R Motoring saying goodbye and keep on motoring.